everybody, this is Chris. Thank you for joining me. So I would like to show you this little bracelet I've made a few minutes ago. It's really lightweight. It's in different colors, different sizes of beads, and it's really lightweight. I can't believe how lightweight it is. So I've just mounted that on a elastic wire, if you wish. And I'm going to show you how you do, not exactly this one, but any kind of bracelet or earrings that you wish, or even a necklace, very lightweight. And these are actually not beads. I think you understood that in the title. They are made with paper. And I know this is not new. I'm sorry. Ooh, I'm losing my voice. This is not new, but I'm rediscovering this because I was cleaning up my stash and I found some beads that I had made a few years ago and I had some left, and I thought, oh yes, I need to do this again because it's really nice. I'm pretty much into jewelry making these past few weeks. And I thought, well, you know, resin is nice, but making your own beads is also really cool to do and so easy. So for those of you who have never done paper beads, they're awesome. And you don't have to use only paper. Actually, I've done this one in some kind of fabric, and this is the fabric I have used. And it's also the same technique, very easy. And I'm going to show you some shortcuts as well if you don't have a lot of paper. I've made this one, so this is one of the beads. This one is not covered, it's just plain paper yet, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to do some close-ups here. I think you'll see that better. So this is one of the examples I will show you because, of course, you can do this in different sizes, different thickness, of course, different colors according to your paper. This is another one I've used. This is actually this paper. So what you need to keep in mind is that your paper is going to look a bit darker. This, for example, this one here is this paper, but smaller, of course. I've used also this very heavy paper, which is this one, and it's really fun. So you can see that the color is kind of blended a little bit. You don't see the holographic side that much, but I still think it's great. Oh, you can see the holographic. You can still see it. And it's in a very shiny color. This is a very big bead. I just put more paper on it. And honestly, when you put it like this, no one is going to know that it was made out of paper. So let's get started. And you can also use washi tape. This one and this one were made in washi tape. So what I like to do to make it easier, unless you have a very big strip of paper, but if I had to use this one, for example, this one is really thin and flimsy. So if I wanted to have a big bead like this one, I would have to use different lengths and big lengths of paper. If you don't have a lot, but you still want to make like this one is very short. It's a 6x6 pad of paper, actually. Let me show you this one if you can find some of these. They're really nice. They come in a variety of little colors here and music. And I really like the fact that it's really blingy and shiny. So I've cut a strip, but I can't go over 6x6. So I would have to cut a lot of pieces of paper in order to make a very thick one. So what you can do instead is just using here, this is a heavy cardstock, and I'm going to use this as my base, and then I will cover it up. So easy. So you will need paper, you will need a paper trimmer, you will need an embossing pad. This one is very yicky, but it's really old. I have one just for embossing, actually, when I'm doing these beads. You will need embossing powder, obviously. Also, if you don't want to use embossing powder, you can use a thick varnish on top, but it's gonna take more time because you will need to put at least maybe 2-3 coats of it. If you use a very thick embossing powder like this one, it's an ultra thick embossing powder. It's from Ranger. You will need only two coats. Probably maybe 3 if you really want to make it very thick, why not? But that's what I'm going to be using in my example. You will need glue. I'm using Tombow, but any kind of quick drying glue will do for this. A washi tape, you can do again a little bit of fabric if you wanted to. It's going to be exactly the same principle. So, and I'm going to use these tools as well. They're very handy. I'm not sure about how they're called. And they usually come in sets of 5 in different width. You can see this one is much bigger than this one or this one. And it's going to make your beads look different, like thinner, like this one, or thicker, like this one with a bigger hole. So it's really up to you. The thicker, the more paper you will need to use. So I'm going to start with the bigger one because I think it's easier to see on the camera. All right. So they're made also for quilling. So you can enter your piece of paper inside. If you don't have this, you can use tweezers, or you can also use a paintbrush like this and put your paper around it. I just think that I had these and I've used them so much that it's more convenient. And what I like to do first, especially when I'm using heavy cardstock, is that I like to put it in shape like this. Otherwise, when it's heavy cardstock and you want to make a circle, it tends to make some indentations, you know, like it's folding itself and not getting round, so it's not as perfect. So I'm doing this a couple times. You don't need to put glue when you start, especially when you use these tools, and you're just going to start to coil your paper on itself. And try to be regular here. If you're using a piece of paper that is the same size, same width on both sides, like you see here, you need to put it straight on itself. All right. So when I'm arriving at this point, I think this bead is quite big. I'm just going to put some glue here. All right. I'm just going to hold it like this for a few seconds. Whoops. I'm bringing all the paper together. Hold it, really, it needs to be well glued. Otherwise, with the heat of the heat gun, and of course, I forgot to say, you need a heat tool, of course, to heat and melt your embossing powder. All right, and I would recommend doing all your beads first and then putting the embossing powder on top. It's going to make your life much easier, and it's also going to be much faster. So this is my first example. I'm going to keep it there just for now. And now I'm going to use is this paper. So I'm just going to put some on top. I'm going to see the width of it that I need. And I'm going to cut it a little bit bigger. Since it's thin paper, it's not going to be an issue if it overlaps. And I'm going to put, you see, I don't need much. So you can use all your scrap piece of papers that you really like, but you don't know what to do with them because they're too small. Well, that's a nice way to use them up. Don't throw your paper. Unless you really don't like it and you don't want to make a bead out of it. But sometimes you could be surprised because they really look nice when they're a bead. So I'm going to make it dry just a little bit. But what I would like to show you is that if you just use plain white paper, or this one is kind of a manila color, you can use also some markers. These are just kids markers because it's paper. So you can use these markers to make a pattern if you want some polka dots. If you want to make it like a rainbow and you don't have the paper you wish. If you need a certain color, and if you need a very big bead like this one and you don't have any home, make yourself a big bead. That's so easy, and use colors. I've put some glitter on top here just before putting my my embossing powder, and just at the end I've put another coat of embossing powder and then the glitter on top. What you can also do, and I'll do it on this one afterwards, is nail polish. I love the color, and I'm going to make one. I'm going to do this one as well. Okay, so that's good. So what I would recommend doing is that you should heat your heat gun at least maybe 15 seconds. I'm going to show you the one I'm using here, but any brand will do, of course, to make sure that it's going to be really hot, because we're going to emboss it first. So you put that, you roll it into your clean. It's not going to change the color anyway. And then you're going to put it into your embossing powder. But be careful one thing. If you bring it when it's not hot yet, it's going to blow. It might blow a lot of your embossing powder out of your bead, and you'll have to do it again, okay? And put it back. Also, and I've just put my bigger bowl into a smaller one because I think it's easier. And don't worry, it's not to contaminate anything. You will put the excess back into your original container. Is that every time you're going to blow it up, your bead, once you have the embossing powder on top, take this away because it's going to blow away all your powder that you have here. So make sure that every time you do that, you put that aside and then you bring it back. Not too far away, but be careful of that because it's going to spread all over your table. So make a whole bunch of beads first, and then when you're ready, you have enough beads, then you're going to do this one after the other. Is going to go very quickly. So, and I'm going to do this in real time. I'm not going to speed up the video. Really quite a good amount of embossing. Versamark here. I dip it in here, put it aside, and heat up my, I'm just going to lower the sound. There you go. So if you can see it, it starts beginning very white in the beginning, and then it starts to clear up again. But I keep on turning it because the more layers you put, you might have a big drop of embossing powder. So if you keep on turning it, you are going to have something that is quite even. It's not as perfect as a bead could be, but it's still quite good. So right now, don't put your fingers right here because it's going to be really hot. And I would also recommend not putting your fingers on the bead until it's completely cooled down. It's not going to take just a few minutes. But otherwise, what can happen is that you're going to leave your fingerprints in there and it's not going to be nice, and you will have to put another coat on top of what you have just done. So put this in a place, like for example, on something that is not going to touch anything. Just let it cool like this. We're going to make another one, and I'm going to show you how you can make this one now in another shape. So what you will need for this are 2 strips of paper. So there's one that is normal, whatever the length is. It's just a normal strip of paper. And then you're going to make another one that starts with the same width here, but then you're going to go into a triangular shape at the end. Okay? That's really important because when you're going to glue it down together like this, it needs to start exactly at the same width. Okay? I hope you'll be able to see that. I think here you can see it better. So I'm going to use the other one here, a little smaller that I have. Oh, I forgot to do this just before. My paper trimmer is starting to be a bit tired. I need to change the blade. I'm going to do this, the same thing here. All right, that's enough. And I'm going to start rolling. Let me see. There you go. So again, I'm doing the exact same thing. I've got a lot of glue and paint on my fingers. I've used the nail polish. Again, a little bit of glue here, just like we did before. Just need to curl it back. It might open on you like this. That's why you really need to make sure that it's really well glued. I'm aligning all the stack of paper. And really, it doesn't take much time. All right, I'm going to take my other strip, put a little bit of glue here again. Start just where I left. Roll it. Wait a few seconds to make sure it's really trying to rush a little bit too much here. Okay. Should be good. I'm going to start rolling, and here what is important is that because your paper is getting smaller and smaller and thinner, try to really put your paper in the middle so you have the same amount, even though you're not going to count really, but the end of your paper needs to be in the middle of your bead. And if you're not happy with it, just fiddle with it a little bit so it's kind of nice. So do you see now how it looks? I need to come a little closer, zoom in. Okay. So my piece of paper, if I do this with a pattern paper, you won't see much. This is why I've chosen this color. But when I roll it, let me do it again, I'm not sure you saw that. My screen is so small. Is that I try to keep it in the center. So the tip of my paper here, my triangle, is going to be in the middle of all that. So it's even. Try to do it as even as you can. I can see it's not completely even there, so I'm just putting my nail where I need to restart it. And I think I like it. Yes, I like it better this way. So now again, I'm going to put some glue. And that's a thick piece of paper. But you got yourself a bead. Okay? And it's exactly the same thing. But here, I used a larger bead, a larger strip of paper, and I put less paper so it has this shape. So you need to, if you want to have different kind of beads with the same technique, you need to play with the length of your paper, the quantity of paper you're going to put on top of each other, and the width. So you need to play around, and you'll have different beads using the exact same technique. These are using the exact same technique. All right. So now what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to use this varnish because I love the color. I'm going to put it on top. You could maybe do that as well with acrylic paint, but be careful, the acrylic paint might bubble up. So when you start heating up, your heat tool, don't put it too close of your bead, otherwise it might burn the bead because it's just paper. It might burn also the acrylic. It shouldn't be burning. You're just melting down the embossing powder. So leave this to dry. Don't forget also to do the sides. And concerning the beads, like if you don't do anything, they're going to keep their color. So I've used a vanilla color. It's going to stay like this. But if you want to have something nicer, you can also color it with your markers like this. Again, these are just water-based markers, like, you know, Child's brand, really cheap ones. They're kiddos that you can see for kids. And I've just colored the sides here. You can also make it a little nicer if you want to color just a tiny bit the center of your hole, but you don't really need to, but it finishes up nicely your bead. You could also use silver or gold markers to do this. It's really up to you. So I'm going to let this one dry. I'm going to do the sides while I'm at it, and I'll be back as soon as everything is dry to emboss it. Actually, while it's drying, I'm going to show you another example. So I've already pre-made this bead here, and what I'm going to do to show you how easy it is again, I'm just going to use washi tape on top. And I love this one. It's glittery, and I love the color. So I have made my roll here the same width, hopefully, or almost the same width as my washi tape. I need to cut this straight first. And it's going to be seamless because this is very thin, so I can start wherever I want. Cover up my bead. All right. And what I like to do, because often washi tape, I don't know if the same thing happens to you, but tends to not stick that well. Making sure I aligned it perfectly. Okay, so you don't really see the seam that much, but what I like to do, that's important, is to secure it with more glue, because what may happen is that it's going to be heated up with the heat tool, it might open up, and then it's not going to be nice. It's going to be ugly. It's going to open up, and you won't be able to finish your bead. So that's something I like to do, secure it with glue all the time. And we're going to do the same process. And you see, I keep on turning it, so I know, because every time we're putting another layer, even the one under is melting down. So because of this drop that may happen, you need to keep on turning and turning your paper around so it gets even and you don't have a big blob somewhere. And if you do, don't worry, it's not a big issue, but there you go. And I think I do have a little blob here. Maybe you'll be able to see it, but honestly, it's good. Wait again completely to be dry before taking it away, because if you put your fingers there, first you might burn yourself, and then having your fingerprints, and this is not what you want. So let me show you my other example here, the one I've made previously, the one that I have made here as well. This is made of washi tape, so I just showed you. So the color is changing a little bit. It's, like I said, making it a bit more brighter, but it's still really nice. You can still see the fact that it has glitter in it. Can you see that? I really like it, honestly. And it's so fun to do this one with the nail polish. And it's, again, it's not perfect, but it's so personal. This one is big, and you can make even bigger ones. Really lovely. This one also looks more like a little snail, sea snail. This one that we've made together And so easy. Again, this one with fabric. Look at that. And I need to put another coat on it. I think 2 was not enough. But very simple. This one is not yet. Yeah. So there you go. I'm sure that you've done this maybe in the past. If you haven't, give it a try because it's really fun to do and it's so easy and nobody will ever know that it was just paper. They can't know even when they touch it. It looks like plastic. It looks like a bead actually. So yes, please give me some thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet, and also click on the bell button and share on social medias. Thank you so much. Don't forget to leave me your comments or just say hello. I'll get back to you. And see you soon. Take care and happy crafting. Bye-bye.